All right, we're going to start something a little new today that's going to bring back the stuff we've been working on lately and combine it, hopefully, within a week or so with the C# stuff we've been working on. So I think it was Monday, I sent you a folder that was called, in fact, I had you copy it. I think everybody's got a copy. If you don't, let me know. But it's called Git, the folder, and there are 4 PDFs in here. And there is a Word file. Now, I'm not going to go over the Word file, but if you see this, if you look through it, I don't know how many pages it is. 15 pages. All right. It's from a thing that's called tootsplus.com. And tootsplus.com, literally, the toots is for tutorials. They put a ton of information out there. It's a really good site. Most of it's free. So as we go through this stuff, if stuff doesn't make sense to you, all right, if the stuff that we go through doesn't make sense to you, you might want to go back and look at this document. I'm not going to go through it at all. All right? All right. Then we've got this thing called git_toot.pdf. It's another tutorial, about 20 pages. I'm not going to go through that. Then we've got another thing that's called Git Tutorial PDF. This is a thing from tutorialspoint.com. You can see that's 83 pages. I'm not going to go through that. Then we've got a thing called Git for Beginners handout. That's 180 pages. I'm not going to go through that. And I'm looking, boy. And I thought I gave you another thing that's not in there, but we're gonna find it. All right, this is what I want everybody to do, if you would please. Go out on the internet. So open up your browser window of choice, whatever that happens to be. All right. Once you're in there, in your address window, just type in Git, G-I-T, and hit enter. I don't want to go to git.net, so why it did that, I don't know. All right. So there's a lot of things that you're going to find under Git. 208 million. All right. Is everybody right here? The one that I want us to be concerned with, no, not the first one, this second one. So I want you to click this link right here or go out to https://git-scm.com. The SCM is an acronym. It stands for Source Code Management. All right. This is what we're going to be working with for the next couple days. So if you click on that thing there that says Git, this is the home page for what is Git. Again, Git is a free and open source version control system. What you'll learn starting tomorrow, not so much today, but more tomorrow, we're going to build a C# project. And when we build it, we're going to enable Git on what we're working on. Did you all hear that? All right. So I'm not going to read a darn thing about it to you. Okay. There's a lot of different stuff from here. All right. So what I want you to do, if you would please, let's see. It says here, if you go down far enough, everybody see this little black? This is a book. It says Pro Git. Everybody see what I'm talking about? All right. If you would, right mouse click on the link that says Read Online for free. So right mouse click on that link and click Open in a new tab, or Open Link in new tab. And it'll think about it, but it should eventually bring you to here. This is a free online book about Git. We're going to go over some of it today. All right? Now, notice if you want your own copy, just click right there on the PDF, or if you use Mobi or EPUB. But the easiest is to just click on PDF right here. Then it'll say, do you want to download it? That's your call. You can read it all the time online. So everything we're going to do today will be online. Does that make sense? But if you want your own copy of it, all right, then you can save it like this. I've already got it saved, so I'm not going to save it again. So again, that's your call. All right? All right. So just so you see there, because we're going to bounce back and forth from this. Today we're going to go over chapters 1 and 2. I'm not going to go over this whole book. The book is about, I think it's 600 or 700 pages. I'm not going to go through all that. That'd be ridiculous. So we're going to go over the getting started stuff today. We're going to go over the Git basic stuff today. Either Thursday or Friday, we're going to go over the Git branching. We're not going to go over chapter 4, Git on the server. We're not going to go over chapter 5, distributed Git. But we're going to go over chapter 3, like I mentioned, Git branching, and we're going to go over chapter 6, which is on GitHub. We'll talk about that later on, not today. The only other thing that's in here, we're not going to go over 7, 8, 9, 10, but we will go over Appendix C. Why? Because it has the major Git commands in it. Now, when you run Git, all right, when we do it from this book, we're going to do it from a command line. But I'm also going to show you how you can do the same stuff. If you don't want to do it from the command line, you can also do it from a GUI, so a graphical user interface type of way of doing things. All right? So if you would, go back to this git-scm.com. All right? I'm going to show you what to do, but I'm not going to do it because I've already done it on my machine. We're all back here, correct? I want you to go down right here where it says downloads and just click right there. All right, it says what download do you want? Well, as you can guess, we want the Windows download. So we're going to go put our mouse on Windows and we're going to click. And it says your download is starting. And you should get that file right there. Click Save File once you get that. I've already got it, so I'm not going to do this. All right, it's 37.3 meg, it says on the size, so it's not humongous. All right. Once that starts happening, and you click, well, I can click Save File because I'm not going to do anything with it. But once you click Save File like this, it's going to save it wherever your files are typically saved. For most people, it's in your downloads area, but you know where you're saving stuff. All right? So it comes in here, it says your download, you are downloading, it's got other downloads, etc. The regular download should work just fine. And I'm looking in here, and if I go over to my downloads, there it is. See it? I've already got this. Now, I might be running a version that's a little bit older, but I've already done a bunch of stuff with it, so I'm not going to change it. All right? But you can come in here, double-click on it, and it's going to tell it to start running it. So click Run. You may get this, you may not get this. All right, some people know how they can basically override that, but basically it's saying, hey, you need admin privileges. Hell, it's your machine, so you just click yes. And then it comes in here, as oftentimes what happens here, it's got a general license agreement, so you got to scroll down to the bottom of it. Okay, I'm going to assume you read it, or you're going to read it another time if you care. All right, so you click the next button. You should be okay with all of the defaults, but please look up on the screen here. The two most important ones are here. You want to make sure those are both checked. We're going to use git bash, which means use git from the command line. Did you hear that? All right. I'll show you git GUI. You can only run both of them if those are both checked. All right. So if you've got both those checked, click the next button again. And it says use Vim, the Vim editor. You know what? Don't worry about that. It says it can be hard to use, etc. Well, if you look here, we probably would want to go down and use Notepad++. Okay? If you don't know what this is, if you look up on the screen, please. Visual Studio, you all know what Visual Studio is. We've used that this semester for the first half of the semester. Visual Studio now has a watered down version of itself that's not really designed to work for you it doesn't compile C#, etc., but you can use it for almost anything. It's called Visual Studio Code. So if you wanted to use that, you could. I don't know what the nano editor is, so I'm not going to lie to you. Vim, as it says, it's the default editor. You probably don't want to use that. It's kind of a pain. So let's use Notepad++ as the default editor. All right? Click Next again. And now notice it says here, use Git from Bash only, use Git from the Windows prompt, use Git in optional stuff, etc., etc. This will override. We just want the default. And now when it says use Git from the command Windows prompt, you still can use Git Bash with it. All right? So we're just going to leave it from the Windows command prompt. It says this is considered safe as it only adds minimal Git wrapper. We can still do both. What this says, just so you know, what this command right here does is it says we can either run Git from Git, which makes sense, right? Or you can come into here, type CMD, get a command line, and run it from there. That typically you just accept the default. So we're going to go next again, and it says here, use the Open SSL library or use the Windows Secure Channel library. We don't have to worry about this with what we're doing, so we again accept the default. Click Next again. All right. Now, sometimes when you do certain things with Git, you get a problem. You may or may not know what this stands for. CRLF stands for Carriage Return Line Feed. If you don't know what that is, I'm asking you this question. When we were working, we did stuff like this. Remember we did like console.writeLine, and then we'd say something like hello, \n. Everybody remember that? What does the \n stand for? What? New line. And a new line is a combination of a carriage return and a line feed. So that's what that stands for. What they're telling you is sometimes when you run certain commands in Git, you're going to get a warning that says you got a bunch of these CRLF things. It doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't hurt anything. So, again, just click Next. All right. This stuff that's here, I don't know why they still put this, but it says Git Bash will use min TTY as a terminal emulator. Git will use the default console of Windows, which works, etc., etc. The bottom line is this is basically done for historical purposes. We don't do anything with this, so we just accept, again, the default, so we click Next again. All right? And, yeah, we want to enable file caching. Yeah, we want to enable the Git credential manager. No, we don't want to enable the symbolic links. And I guess it doesn't hurt. I'll just override what I've got in there. So click the Install button. It may go real fast. It may take a minute or two. It just depends on so many things. You can see mine looks like it'll take somewhere around a minute or so. So mine's just about finished. Again, yours may take a little longer. Yours may be done already. So it comes up like this. All right? I don't want to do either one of these. If you check the one that says Launch Git Bash, it'll bring it up right away. I don't want to do that yet. If you check the view release notes, which is checked by default, they're letting you know what's different here from the last version. I don't care. So I'm just going to uncheck this. And I'm going to, so neither one of them are checked, and I'm going to check finish, or click finish. That's it. If you have done all that stuff, you now have Git on your system. So if you look up on the screen here, all right, I don't need this page anymore, so I can close this page. But what I want to do is I want to come down and I want to click my Windows button in the bottom left-hand corner. And if you notice there's Git. You should have it on yours also. All right, unless yours is still downloading, you should have it on yours also. All right, and if I click the down arrow by the folder there it is. There's Git Bash, Git CMD, and Git GUI. We want to choose Git Bash, but if you've already clicked it, no problem. But if you haven't clicked it yet, I would suggest that you right mouse click on it and either pin it to your start bar or pin it to your taskbar or to both. You don't have to do that. I've already got a lot of garbage that's here on my taskbar. So I'm going to get rid of one thing so I've got room for it. So I'm going to come over down here and I'm going to, let's see, I'll take malware bytes and I'll unpin that. So I can come over to Git Bash. All right, right here, right mouse click on it, and I'm going to choose the More Pin to Taskbar. And there it is. All right, you don't have to do that. If you decide you don't want to do that, you can always go in here like I just did and start it up right from right here. If you'd rather do it that way. All right? Now, I still don't want to start this up yet. If you already did, it's okay. It doesn't hurt anything. All right? But I want to show you what I consider to be a better way of working with this. Okay? And then we're going to jump into the book in just a couple minutes. So I'm going to get to my desktop. So I'm here on my desktop, and I'm going to create a new folder on my desktop. Everybody with me? I'm going to create a new folder on my desktop. So I'm going to right mouse click on here. Notice when I right mouse click, see what comes up? I can start Git from here too. All right, but I want to come in here and I want to choose new, and I want to just put in here a folder. And you can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call mine Git Practice, one word. With many of you in here, I'm noticing when you're saving files, etc., you're using blank spaces in your names. Don't do that. You may not have come into and run into any problems at all doing it. You may never run into a problem doing it. But run words together. All right? Or if you think, well, I need something between them, typically an underscore or a hyphen will work. All right? But you can run into problems when you've got blank spaces in file names. All right? So I've got Git Practice. I just put that in. I'm going to hit enter. There's my new folder. Okay? So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to create a garbage file. So we have something that we can play with. You with me? So I'm going to open up this Git Practice. In fact, before I even do that, I will do this. I'm going to right mouse click on here. First of all, would you agree? What's in that folder right now? Git Practice. What's in there? Nothing. Right? That makes sense, doesn't it? I just created it. There's nothing in there. So that's what you'd expect would happen. So now I'm going to right mouse click on the folder and I'm going to choose Git Bash here. And it brings it up in the command line. All right. Looks a little ugly. Okay. Looks a little ugly, but we're going to be able to do some stuff in here. This is where we're going to be working. If you don't like the size, you can drag it out and make it bigger. And you all know the little trick, so to speak. If I hold down on my control key and I use my mouse button and I use the wheel that's here, I can make that bigger. So if you want to do that, you can. You don't have to. All right? But the system is letting me know that right now I'm about to go and start up a Git session, and I'm on my desktop and I'm under Git practice. Does all that make sense? All right. What we're going to be able to do is make changes to files. We can add files and make changes to them. When we make changes to them, we're going to let Git know, and we're going to have what are known as different iterations of our file. Now, I'm going to assume that what I just said doesn't make sense to you. So let's assume this. Okay? It's a year from now. And you believe it or not, you've all got jobs. And you're all going to be web developers working for some company. And you're going to be creating websites for some company. All right? So, it's your first day of work and you come in and you're told you're going to create, let's just say, hey, it's Tony's dream job. He's going to be working on a special website all about the New England Patriots. All right? So what he does is he starts by, he grabs their logo and he finds their original logo, etc. He's doing some work with that. And the first thing that he does is he finds out, and he's going to put on his web page, he knows, on my main page, I'm going to have a link in there to the history of the New England Patriots. All right? So what he does is he starts to build a website. And on his index.html file, he puts a link in there to a history file. Make sense? Now he goes and he creates his history page. He's worked the whole day on that. Now he's done. He's not done with the website, but he's done working for the day. So what he does is he's going to use Git to save, for lack of better words, version 1 of his website. That make sense? Now it's day 2. He comes in and he makes just a boatload of changes. And let's say he adds another page, all right, and he's going to, the second page he adds is going to be on the different coaches, all right, from the New England Patriots. So he does all that work. He gets it all done. He saves that, all right. So now it's the end of day 2, and he's created 2 pages. He created the history of the New England Patriots on the first day. He created the coaches of the New England Patriots on the second day. He comes back on the third day, and he meets with his boss who says, hey, I got good news and bad news. So what's the good news? And he says, your history page is fantastic. Really like it. He goes, what's the bad news? And he said, your coach's page sucks. I just don't like it. I want you to get rid of it. So what he can do is, since he saved this as kind of like 2 versions, he's got version 1, which had just the history, and version 2, which has the history page and the coach's page. He can do what's called revert back to his original one. All right? And that's what we're going to be working on. I just want you to understand that's the kind of thing that we're going to be talking about. All right? So before we do anything on here, again, I'm going to go back to the internet, and I'm going to go back to here. And I'm going to start by going over chapter 1. I'm not going to read a frigging thing to you, or at least I don't plan on it. Hopefully you don't want me to read. There's a table of contents for the book. Again, we are going to go over chapter 1 today, which is on getting started. Then we're going to do chapter 2 today, which is on Git Basics, chapters 1 and 2. Then if there's time left, and there should be, we're going to get onto a different website. We're going to go through a mini tutorial that should take us about 15 minutes to do. Then tomorrow, we're going to start up a brand new C# project, but we're going to start it up and we're going to use Git with it. And we're going to build it in stages. Does that make sense? That's the plan. Also, just so you know, and Tony, you were my kind of, for lack of better words, sort of my helper / guinea pig last time. Tomorrow's another one of the Shadow Attack days. We have 1 student right now scheduled to come in. Will she or he come in? I don't know. Charles had 3 last time and none of them showed. But you can see the numbers in here. We apparently have lost Josh. All right, so we're down to 7. And, I want this room to be filled up like that room is filled up. All right, so that's why they keep doing these things. just so you know. All right, I think it's the last one for the semester. Also, newsflash for you, you've already heard this, but I'm saying it again. Friday morning around 9:30, we're going to walk over to the other building, and we're going to go to the job fair. All right? Now, just so you know too, 9:30 is a good time because the food's out by then. All right? And there'll be donuts and there'll be juice and stuff. I'm not saying this to be funny. I'm really not. Have whatever you want, but just have one. Because that food is mainly there for the employers who are there, but they know that the students are going to eat it too. All right, but don't walk around, don't say, hey, I got eight donuts here. Don't do that, because they'll find out who you are, and then they'll get back to me. And I don't really want to have to explain, why Jesse had 8 donuts. All right, because he's really hungry. I don't know, because he's giving them to friends, giving them as gifts. I don't know. I don't care. All right, so I'm jumping right into the book here. Again, there's just a few things from here that I want to cover. And like I said, my goal is to not read to you. So what I want you to do, please, is to take a look, and I'll highlight it. I want you to read. Does that look better in blue, or does it look better if I don't make it blue? Can you read it okay like that? Either read it on your screen or read it on the screen up here. All right? And I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that. Again, we'll take a break at about 5:02. Git is a version control system. It's also referred to as a source code management system. But either way, it allows you to keep track of changes you have made to whatever it is you're working on. And they give some examples here. I'm not going to read any of them. But think about it this way. All right? When I got out of college from my first degree and I was 21 years old, I thought, well, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to be a reporter for a while, and after I'm a reporter, I'm going to write a book. Of course, it's going to be a bestseller, and pretty much then I'll be set for the rest of my life. Honest to God, that's what I thought. All right? It was either that or be a pro baseball player, and I wasn't good enough. So that wasn't going to happen. All right? So the reason I'm telling you that is I actually started several times to work on a manuscript for a book. All right? And at that time, I didn't even have a computer. So I did stuff on a typewriter. Now, when you do stuff on a typewriter, if I wrote a chapter for a book on a typewriter and I decided I didn't like half of it, all I had to do was keep the half I liked and then retype in, etc. But that wasn't really source code management. The reason I'm telling you that is, and you don't have to look, but please listen to this, because this is what a lot of people think source code management is. Okay? So you're working on a C# program. We're going to work on one tomorrow that's going to be called concentration. Don't worry about what it is, why it is, etc. So you get done with it. Let's say we get it, and it's about 3/4 of the way finished. To some people, what source code management is they take the folder, they make a copy of it, they call the copy of the folder concentration 2, and they think that's source code management. It's not. If you look up on the screen here, if I come back the next day and I make a bunch of changes here, those changes don't propagate and they're not made over there. Does that make sense? What we want is a system where we can sit there and we can go and do something like this and make changes and then come back and go back to our original changes, make more changes, etc. What we're going to eventually get to, and again, I'm telling you terms you may or may not have heard of. I believe the other day when I asked if people knew what Git was, I think Ryan was the only one who had his hand up who said he'd heard of it before. Now, you may have heard of Git, you may not have, that's what we're doing now, but if you look here, we're going to eventually go to here. We're going to go to GitHub. And again, you may or you may not know what GitHub is. I'm giving you my definition of GitHub. You're not going to find this in any book. There are people who, if they listen to my definition, would say, he doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. He's wrong. But this is the way I look at it. What you can do with GitHub is you can take any of your stuff that you want to and put it out on a public server where other people can look at it. Why would you want other people to look at it? Well, they can look at it and make comments on it. Future employers could take a look at it. Did you hear that? That's the key thing. So what I hope for us to be able to do is to sit there and starting tomorrow is to write this C# program. Okay, we'll work on that tomorrow. Then on Thursday, we'll go over Chapter 3 and Chapter 6. Chapter 6 of this book is on GitHub. I want us to be able to eventually take that project and push it out to GitHub so other people can look at it. There's one thing to be said for you. Okay, let's say it's summer. And Tony sees this ad. No, I'm not trying to pick on you. But Tony sees this ad online that talks about a web design internship in Wentzville. And he's like, I think I could do that, or at least I'd like to apply for it. Well, he knows that he can go out to iwt.rankin.edu/a and then your last name, and you can go to your portfolio, all right? Because that'll be out there. But it's very hard, maybe you've already discovered that, it's very hard for you to put a lot of code out there and go link to it, etc. Some of the stuff doesn't work well, all right? But there's a good chance that when Tony goes in there and somebody asks if he's got an example of his work and he shows them his portfolio, they may say, do you have a GitHub page? And now he will. And he can put any code out there. He can put anything he wants out there. Now, again, putting stuff out on GitHub is like putting stuff out on Facebook. And what I mean is, if, right now, if I go out, and I have never done this with any of you in here, but let's just say I went out to Andrew's Facebook page. Don't know if he has one or not, but let's say I did. All right? And I look, and he's got a collection of pictures. It was like, this was a great drunk. And he's got like 50 pictures out there of him and friends. Okay? I would suggest he gets rid of that as soon as possible. Because when you're out looking for a job, one of the first things that people are looking for is they start going through your Facebook page. You can, if you want, you can take stuff on there and make it private. Hell, with everything with Facebook that's been in the news lately, I don't believe anything's private. My one daughter always says, Dad, you hardly ever post anything on Facebook. Yeah, there's a reason for that. All right. The other thing, and I'm deviating a little bit from where I wanted to, but if you'd all look up on the screen here, I'm going to open up another window. You don't have to do this, but I'm asking you this question. How many of you have ever gone out to LinkedIn.com? How many of you have a LinkedIn page? If you don't, you should get one. For lack of better words, and again, this is me talking. This is not something you're going to read in a book or whatever. LinkedIn is Facebook for professionals. All right? There are many companies today that if you apply for a job, the first thing they will do is they will look for your LinkedIn page. They just will. All right? You can come in here and you can search. For instance, a friend of mine, Tom Parham, that used to live right down about a few miles from me when I was in Rockton. He was in the next town over called Roscoe. Well, his wife got a job in Florida for a lot of money. And he's a salesperson. He knew he could get a job any place. So he decided to move with her. Well, I decided I was going to look him up. There he is. He's my karaoke pal. But the thing is, when I looked at him, I'm like, okay, it says he still works in Roscoe, Illinois. All right? He was there, that was 5 years ago. He's not in Roscoe, Illinois anymore. And I thought, well, he's probably in Florida someplace. But then I remembered he's got a wife. And this is Tom's wife. All right? Then I looked and I said, holy moly, he's pretty close now. He's in Nashville. I would think they're still together. They were a very happy couple. All right? Plus, he was lucky enough, I don't know if maybe that's not a great way to put it. She's probably 10 to 15 years younger than him. All right? So, but she's also really a nice person. They're both nice people. But it's a way, so I looked here, and I'm like, wow, they're not in Florida anymore. So I can look through here, and when I get down to the experience, well, sure enough, they were in Florida for 2 years, 4 months. Now, for the last 2 years, 4 months, they've been in Tennessee. All right? And again, some people don't keep theirs up very well. Who do I mean? Well, how about this guy? Jeff Scott, who still says he works at Blackhawk Technical College in Janesville, Wisconsin. Why? Why am I doing that? Anybody have any idea? No, it's not that I didn't feel like changing it. It's not that I'm too lazy to change it. It's that my wife still lives in that area. And I didn't want people to know that I was here, but she was still there. So as soon as she moves, which is scheduled to be May 14th, that's all going to be updated. But I haven't touched my LinkedIn page since I left Blackhawk. And the funny thing is, when you look here and you go down to experience, it says 25 years. And I was wondering, I was getting all these congratulations for being at Blackhawk 25 years. Like, I haven't been there 25 years. It's because I never updated my LinkedIn page. All right? But again, I've had people contact me through here. I had one of my students, one of my first students, back when I started teaching, which was in, I can't even tell you, in the late 80s, early 90s. All right? But I had a guy go and contact me. He was one of the first students I ever had. And that's him. He used to make fun of my hairline. If I saw him today, I think I could do the same. All right? But the point is, it's a great way to keep in touch with people professionally. If you don't have a LinkedIn page, you should get one. They're free. All right? You should put, I don't have a picture of me out there. I don't do stuff like that. So I wouldn't, whatever. All right? But to each their own. All right? But it wouldn't be a bad idea for you. All right. So, jumping ahead. I want to finish this chapter, and then we'll take a break. Now, it says here, centralized version control systems. The thing to realize is Git does it differently than virtually every other kind of version control system. All right? You use Git for two reasons. You hear me? You use Git for two major reasons. One, for yourself, so you can go back and have different versions of what you're working on. All right? The other is when you're working with other people. All right? We don't want this. This is what we get. So when you use Git and you want a copy of what you're working on. So let's say that me, Devin, and Matt, we're working on a project together. So we've got this project, and it's housed someplace on a server. And Matt comes in one morning and says, oh, I had this idea last night. I'm going to be able to fix these problems we have with this project. He doesn't get the original. He does what's called check out a copy of it. He makes whatever changes that he wants to, and then once they've been okayed by everybody, he can merge those back into the original. Do you understand that? That's not the way most of these version control systems work, but that's how this one works. All right. I'll tell you what I'm going to do quickly is Start tab. No, I'll do it like this. That's fine. All right. I'm not going to give you a short history of Git. Do you really care? If you do, probably the coolest thing about Git is that the name that they give here. Where is it? The guy who worked on it is also, I believe at least, the guy who set up the PHP programming language. Okay? And you say, do we have to care about that? No, not a bit. All right. Git basics. What Git does is, for lack of better words, it takes a picture of what you're working on. It takes what's called a snapshot. All right? And it allows you to check things in, check things out. We're going to be talking about all that in just a few minutes. Notice on here, everything that you do in Git by default is local. Somebody tell me, what does that mean? By default, everything is local. What does that mean? What? It's on your computer. So give me the example I gave with the three of us working before. When Matt checks out a copy of that code, it's his own local copy. The real good news about that is twofold. First of all, if he screws it up, he's only screwing up a local copy. The second thing is, he doesn't need any internet connection. He needs nothing. He can just work on it. All right? So that's another thing that you get. Git has what's called integrity. So when you work on stuff using Git and you go and make changes, it develops a number for you. The number will mean nothing to you, but it does to Git. So it'll give you a number like this. This is when you're working with different versions. This is what you'll be working with. All right? All right. In fact, we'll take a break early, but before we do, please look on the screen. This is the most important part of this entire book. Everything that's in a book, for lack of better words, can be boiled down to what you see on the screen right now. When you're working with Git, you're working with files. The files can be in directories, etc. But when you're working with Git, the stuff that you're working with is in one of three stages. Okay? It's either, as you see in the bullet list there on the screen, it's either committed, and if it's committed, it's basically in here. It's modified, which means that you've changed it, but it's not in there yet. Or it's staged, which means that it's modified, all right, and the next time you do what's called a commit, it'll move from here to here. So you work on files, whatever that means. You add code to it, you remove code from it, you change existing code, and when you work on this stuff, it goes from being in a working directory to being modified. Then you can tell Git, I want to stage this, which means I just about want to go and move it over to here. And that's what we're going to be getting into in just a couple minutes. So they explain on the bottom of the page here the process. You modify files in your working tree, so in your local copy. You selectively stage those changes that you want to be part of what's called your commit. All right? Then you do a commit. All right? And again, I'm telling you this is not meant to be funny, but the stuff here, it's not rocket science. It really and truly isn't. All right? When you work on Git, we're going to use the command line. This book just uses the command line. But once we get a little comfortable with it, we'll look at using Git also in the GUI. All right? The install, we already did. Everybody agree with that? You already did the install? They show you how to install it in Linux, which we're not using. Then they show you how to install it in Windows. That's what we did. There are different ways of installing it in Windows. We didn't do any of those. We did none of those because we didn't have to. All right? So it's 8:55. We're just about done with this chapter, but this is a good place to stop. Let's come back, please, at 9:10. We'll pick it up right here.